the changing of the guard at Taiwan's National Revolutionary Martyrs' Shrine. This is an island that's always been on edge. It's a self-ruled territory with democratic elections, but China sees it as a rebel region that must be reunited with the mainland, by force if necessary, which has led to companies like Foxconn, headquartered in Taiwan, having to reevaluate their options.
Hello, Karishma. It's so nice to see you.
Yes, lovely to meet you. I met him for an exclusive conversation. It's the first time he's spoken to an international broadcaster. The concerns of war between the US and China over Taiwan not far from his mind.
Does it keep you up at night thinking about this? You know, the possibility that war between or conflict between the US and China might be imminent, and Taiwan could be caught up, and companies in Taiwan could be caught up in all of this.
Well, I would say, of course, this is always a factor that I have to think about.
So how do you as a business prepare for something like that? Your operations are headquartered here. You are a vital part of the Taiwanese economy. What's the business contingency plan here?
The diversification is one way. As a business, as a CEO, I had to think about, what if the worst case happened? So we're doing something, some BCP planning. Hopefully, it will not happen, but we have to be prepared.
I just want to get a sense from you about the economic model in the last 4 decades that has helped Foxconn thrive, right? It's been manufacturing in China and selling to mainly US customers, leveraging that sort of dynamic, and it's really worked well for companies like Foxconn.
Yes.
Do you think, because of the current tensions, that model is over? We're in a new world now.
I don't think so. Because we're doing manufacturing, we hire a lot of workers, and most of the countries, they want to support their workers, including China. Whether we are going to have all the manufacturing in China, would that be affected because of the tension? So far, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. Maybe because of the type of business that we're in.
The US has talked about de-risking from China. What does that mean for a business like yours, de-risking from China?
We do contract manufacturing for our branded customers.
Many of whom are in the West.
Right. And they probably get the push from their government about de-risking. And then they will let us know.
Have they done that yet?
There's some, but not all. For certain their product lines, for certain product lines already moved to Mexico. For some of the product lines moved to Vietnam, but not all the product lines. It depends. For the products that have national security concerns, will be the first batch to move.
Foxconn's success has been leveraging the relationship between the US and China over the last few decades, manufacturing in the East for customers in the West. By its own admission, Foxconn likes to keep a low profile. But even if you haven't heard of the company itself, you probably would have seen one of these, the iPhone. Now, each iPhone contains hundreds of components, and Foxconn makes around 60% of them, from things like the camera module to the connectors in the device and even the back of the phone. But smartphone sales are plateauing, and Foxconn needs to find the next big thing, the next iPhone, so to speak, to drive growth forward. Enter electric vehicles.
Yeah, Karishma, we have 3 new EVs.
Right.
But we're going to show you one.
Oh,
okay.
fantastic. I'm looking
There you go.
Okay.
We have Model C, Model B, and Model E. Okay, let's go.
It's quite different from making iPhones, right?
Right, right, definitely. And this is much more complicated than the iPhones. If we look at the component count-wise, a typical EV will have about 10,000 parts. Comparing to phones, it's about 600 parts. It's about 20 times, roughly 20 times more components. Well, look at this. This is like a big iPhone, iPad, big iPad.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're very familiar with this, and we're also very familiar with this panel.
But put aside the fun and games for a bit, and making cars is a serious business.
You've never made a car before.
Right.
There's a lot of competition.
Right.
Tesla, BYD, you
Yes.
know, they're well ahead. Those are the EVs. And then there's the traditional car makers. How confident are you that this is going to take off?
So far, we haven't seen a big enough companies who is focusing on contract design and the manufacturing services. The companies that you just mentioned, they're all branded companies. They sell their own products, but we don't. So we are going to, do what with the model that we're very familiar with, which is contract manufacturing. So the company you just mentioned, they potentially are our customers. We can do the work for them. That's why we are very, very excited, and we think it's very promising for us, with that kind of business model, to go into this EV business.
You said potentially they could be your customers. Are any of them currently your customers, like Tesla or BYD?
Of course, yeah. We're already doing something for them, but I cannot name them. Yeah.
Why was it so important to diversify not just the product line, but the geography of where you're making these EVs? Because from what I understand, you're not making the EVs in China, which has been your traditional manufacturing base.
I think regional manufacturing for the EVs or for cars is quite natural, because cars are very bulky, very big, and very heavy. It doesn't make sense for you to make in one place and ship this very big, heavy thing, to another place, another country. So regionalized production for cars is very natural. That's why we had our factory in Ohio, and we're going to have one in Thailand. Very soon we'll have one in India.
So what's the ambition here when it comes to EVs and the growth for Foxconn in the future?
I would say for our future growth, definitely is on the EVs. We see the opportunity of EVs, so we want to grab it, grab these opportunities. And we think by 2025, we have to reach at least about 5% for us to become significant enough as a player in that industry.